Keep
Sounds
me focused.
sure. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate your participation. We are doing the second in a series of webinars highlighting the succession planning process for farmers and ranchers, and then the services that we can provide here at the Ag Mediation Program. So this webinar is being recorded just so we can share the material with folks who aren't able to make it today. We will stop the recording at the end in case you have questions or anything that you'd like to ask without being on the record. What we're going to talk about today is the first step of the process in this workbook that we provide. And if you don't have copies of this yet, let me know. You can put your name in the chat, or you can shoot me an email. My email's on the last slide, and we'll send you copies of it. But we're going to walk you through the first section of the workbook. So before we do that, I thought it might be interesting to highlight some of the common, hold on here, I got to get organized. The common tensions that we see in farm and ranch succession. And so you've got control, you've got this issue of fair versus equal, you've got financial concerns, communication, and then people's attitudes towards change. And so the control is pretty obvious. It's that the older generation or even the younger generation's ability to let go of certain responsibilities, which duties they want to retain control on, and what that looks like. The fair versus equal is such a tough issue for ag families, and we'll talk about this more in detail later. But it's this idea of, if you have a ranch and you have 5 children, uh, uh, equal is dividing it into 5 shares and giving them to all the kids, regardless of whether or not they still live nearby or they're contributing to the property. And this idea of fair is looking at how do we keep this um, asset, or how do we keep this operation running? What does that look like to the person who's staying, to the person who has left, has had other opportunities, whatever that is. So those are all the issues that tie into fair versus equal. Financial, obviously, the issues of profit, affordability. How do we make it so that this operation can continue to support the families that are here? Communication, actual conversations that people have versus relying on assumptions. I've seen a lot of this lately. Folks think they know what other people in the family want to do, um, but they're also relying on a lot of those assumptions, or they're relying on a conversation that took place years ago to frame how they're viewing the situation now. And then the issue of change, progress versus continuity. Several years ago, I was at one of the ag conventions, and they had a panel of multi-generation operations talking about their experiences. And one has stuck with me. It was a dad who was, middle-aged, and his daughter who had just graduated from college. And, the daughter had majored in something ag related and had all these ideas she was bringing back and wanting to implement. And the dad told the whole group, he said, every time she comes to me with some new idea, all I hear is you've been doing it wrong for 25 years.
Mm.
And it's like, ugh. And he's like, I get that that's not necessarily what she's saying, but that was how he was viewing it. And so it's like, I think the change and the communication tie in together, because if you get to a place where you can talk about, hey, that's a great idea, but actually we tried that. Grandpa tried that and it didn't work for this reason, or we haven't tried that with the new technology that's available now. But this issue of change can be really hard to overcome. So another issue we have is sometimes ag families will have an overemphasis on the business side of the operation. And so that looks like, inappropriate estate plans that don't necessarily make a lot of sense, an information vacuum. that communication's not really happening. Not really having an idea of what the vision of the whole family is, or what the values of the group are. And then that next generation is maybe not as either involved or has any idea of what's going on. So you also have folks who have an overemphasis on the family. That's where you're going to have inappropriate hiring decisions. Putting somebody in charge of something just because they have the same last name. Inappropriate estate plans, this idea of family first at all costs, not as much attention to the business, and then some level of meddling. So what we're trying to help folks do is have an emphasis on both and having that balance. So you've got trust and commitment, business effectiveness. You have a solid business that is doing well. You're putting resources into that, you're focusing on that, but you also have family harmony, you have that open communication, and you have folks that are working together. There's another article that you might find valuable, and I will share that with you on the next. Well, let me just go do this really quick. I can't get I can't get my link to share in here. I'll put it in the chat in a minute, but this is another article from the Extension office in Wisconsin, the same folks that put our book together. And they have 10 things to consider for succession planning. Organizing your information, developing and discussing your intentions and your priorities, evaluating your communication skills and your patterns, analyzing the farm business financials, estimating the family living needs, developing a management transition plan, creating a timeline, developing and discussing estate plans. Here's our fair versus equal issue again, and then evaluating long-term care needs and options. What I wanted to show you with this list is that the workbook helps you accomplish all 10 of these items. So in section 1 that we're going to talk about in a second here, organizing your information, analyzing the financials, and estimating the living needs, there's sheets and forms for you to fill out in this section 1 that help you do that. Next time when we talk about section 2 and section 3, it gives you a lot of options in discussing your intentions, your priorities, looking at your communication, developing that management plan, and then considering what is fair and equal. And then the last one with section 3, that's where we help you create the timeline and develop and discuss those estate plans. So if as you're thinking about the section that we're doing today, think about these organizing the information, analyzing those financials, and then estimating the living needs and evaluating the long-term care needs and options too. So I want to stop sharing for a second so I can pull up this handout for you. Any questions with the information that we just showed you? And I'll pull up the workbook here, Sonia. Here's the article and the link. Right. Okay, here's the link to the article. Okay. Back to the workbook. You guys would think that I have never run a Zoom before. All right, Sonia, which page did you want me to highlight? You're muted.
Page 10 and 11. They're cutting the lawn, and so I apologize for the I'm in my office and it's loud.
Are you seeing the right screen, by the way, too?
Let's see. That's 11. There's 10.
There's 10. All right. Perfect. Talk to us about these pages.
Page 10 of the workbook, the instruction to complete the worksheet individually before discussing it together is crucial. This ensures that each person's perspectives and concerns about the farm or ranch succession are fully expressed before the group discussion. By addressing individual issues first, the process minimizes the risk of conversations breaking down due to hidden tensions or unspoken disagreements. Specifically, it helps in uncovering any unreasonable expectations or family secrets that could hinder the succession process. The first question, can everyone work together? This question delves or digs into the ability of the family to collaborate effectively. Succession planning is more than a legal or financial process. It's an emotional and relational one. This question forces families to confront whether personal conflicts or power struggles can hinder decision-making. If the answer is no, it signals a need to address relationship issues before continuing with succession planning. Effective teamwork is essential for making balanced decisions that reflect the best interests of the farm and everyone involved. Identifying challenges and working together early on helps prevent later disputes, ensuring a smoother transition and a stronger future for the farm or ranch. The second question, are there family secrets that, if not addressed, will affect the transition? This is the more emotionally charged of the two questions. Family secrets, unresolved disputes, or unspoken frustrations can build tension and sabotage succession planning. These undiscussable, it's a hard word to pronounce, topics often sit like a ticking time bomb, waiting to explode under the pressure of difficult conversations. When succession planning involves distributing assets or defining roles, past grievances and hidden dynamics can come to the surface, derailing the best of interests. The follow-up on page 11 provides a chance to delve deeper into the issues identified on page 10 and is a place to offer strategies for resolution. If a family can't talk openly and honestly about these issues, the transition plan risks failure. By acknowledging the existence of unresolved conflicts, families can create a safer environment to work through these tensions, whether through professional mediation or family meetings. Page 11 is the place to tackle undiscussable topics. Succession planning for farms and ranches is especially complex due to the deeply emotional connection to the land, family heritage, and lifestyle. The unique challenges faced by farm families often require more than just traditional business planning methods. Pages 10 and 11 of the workbook are pivotal because they guide families in identifying what's preventing them from moving forward. They emphasize the importance of having all family members clearly define why the transition is necessary and why now is the right time to address it. Here's the hope if this describes your situation. We are here to help you. You don't have to complete the workbook first or get everyone on board right away. It can start with you. If having the initial conversation is too hard to even imagine or get going, give Lucy a call and we'll help sort it out with you.
Thank you, Sonia. And just to tack on, Sonia and Suri and I were talking about this as we were putting these slides together, and these 2 pages right here would be really valuable for helping for allowing us to better help the family too. Like if folks aren't ready to talk about these things right here, even just talking to your farm succession coordinator about that would be really helpful, because we can strategize on how do we bring up these non-discussable topics, recognizing that folks are only going to make it so far in these discussions and in this planning without these harder things coming up. And so the pages in the workbook are a good way for individuals to kind of capture their feelings and their ideas. And then the farm succession coordinator can help strategize on how are we going to talk about this really hard stuff. We've run into that lately, and we're always thinking about how do we help families work through these really hard things
Yeah.
so they can get to a good plan at the end. Well, thanks, Sonia. Sari, how about you? What page were you on again?
16, 17.
16 and 17. Make everybody dizzy with my slides here. All right, here we go.
Thank you. As we were scrolling through the pages in between Sonia's presentation and this one, there are quite a few technical things that could be filled in by the owner generation. And you know, this book is so designed for everyone to try to be literally on the same page. We have worked both ways. Folks that feel a little more prepared because they have looked through this workbook, they have had some of themselves and their families to look through and check mark, and some pages maybe aren't applicable to everyone, and we totally understand that. When we get up to page 16, we know that success, or the owner generation, the ones who have actually been there doing the hands-on work most of the time, if children are grown, more than likely they have been a big part of this as they grew up. There's some understanding. There's a lot of time that's been invested. They've worked side by side with the owner generation. They've been able to maybe have some of those same core values and the vision of how the ranch or the farm or the business can succeed and continue. And a lot of times the owner generation has not been able to communicate everything effectively. That's why we feel that a lot of times that owner generation should probably really be driving home their answers on this and really deciding, really thinking it through ahead of time. Are there going to be any problems with handing off this hands-on experience? We know what to expect. We have done it, but how are we going to make this go forward? Many times an owner generation would love to see their family involved, and they would like to see them continue. These pages kind of allow, do they really want to stay involved with all their decision making? Do they want to maybe think of more time away from the ranch and others step in and start decision making? And so I just love the resources that are here, because me with a background totally in this, and seeing how my parents handled some things, and there was just kind of a lack of communication to my sister and myself if they wanted us to continue or someone else. And that type of confusion really plays a huge part in what the owner would like to see. And sometimes they don't want to give it up and they want to stay involved. And these pages allow them. The top of number 17 says transfer of management worksheet. And there's a great paragraph on top, just reading what it says. The question of who controls management can be a barrier in a farm succession plan. Very much what we're talking about. Transfer of management cannot occur if the owner generation retains control of most of the decision making. So this book helps everyone express, because we have some pages coming up in this section 1 for preparation that's going to allow you to say, do I really want to step back as an owner? Do I want to stay involved for a while? Do I really want to just have this be a done deal? And then there will be questions for the successor generation. How prepared are they? Do they agree or disagree with some of the statements here? So once again, just a real heads up, these books have a lot of resources for additional reading on these. We just don't want anybody to feel like they are unprepared, because this is giving a lot of foresight to what might be going through your mind right now. And we'd just like to share it with you the best we can. We love working with people. We've worked both ways, but again, if somebody has had a little bit of experience with this or other, resources, but we really are behind this one because it is so thorough and so helpful. So thank you, Lucy.
Lucy, you're on mute.
See, I've never done a Zoom before. Thank you, Cherie. Thank you, Sonia. I just wanted to point out one last part of this first section that we were talking about, we feel like is really valuable, and recognizing that some families may have all of this information memorialized and have it in a place that everybody can find. Folks that are working with, accountants or have an attorney that's helping, they may have all of this stuff, but this is just a place to put the list of advisors and the important documents. I mean, everybody should know who the lender is, right? But maybe if information is not being shared as much as it should, and then even like important documents, where is the will being held? When was the last time it was updated? Where's that, do all of the people have a living will? Do they have power of attorney for healthcare? And then moving into, again, some families may feel like they all know all of this, and that's great. But I like the idea of having it in this one specific place that everybody can see. Even, different things like insurance, where are all the bank accounts, where are they located? Where's the, can you access them online? Where are those passwords? And then all the investment accounts, the credit cards, the taxes, and then, this other part. And I have worked with families more on the mediation side of things. So mom and dad have passed away, and then the adult siblings are figuring out how to divide things. And we've had questions that come up like, wait, dad loaned our cousin how much money? And are we getting that back? And, nobody knew, nobody had a note, nobody knew where the information was. Having all of this in this central location, I think can be really helpful. So next time, stop the share on that one. Come back to our webinar, our PowerPoint. Here. So next time on September 23rd, we are going to be covering the last two sections of the workbook. Where do you want to be and how do you get there? And, this first section laid the foundation of here's everything we know. Here's where we are now. Here's where the operation is. Here's what the family's thinking. Here are the issues we need to talk about. So then the second section is where do we want to be? What are our goals? What's our vision for this operation? And then how do we get there? So please come back on the 23rd. Join us for that discussion. In the meantime, if you would like to reach out to us. There's our contact info, and I will stop the recording. Let's see here, I can do that.